Welcome to a very special ETHDENV edition of the Feedback Loop. I am joined here today by Phil McMannis of Waev. Phil, you have background in consumer B2B, policy, applications that you're trying to bring and scale around the world. Tell me a little bit about what you are made of and what this is all about.
What really drew me into the space was that looking at what's going on with technology, right? There's this new development of what happens when technology can be decentralized and consumers can get some more control along the way, right? It's been really interesting seeing how there's fundamental shifts in technology happening. And, really what's been exciting to me is seeing what new types of things that we can do, right, with the technology. It's not just, look what's going on with technology development. It's not just about crypto, right? It's about what you can do with data. It's about, what you can do with communication and how totally different networks of people can start to work together in different ways. And that's what's really exciting about the space to me.
So your background has really been consumer focused for a very long time. If you had to explain Waev to my grandma and what decentralized consumer facing applications look like, what would we say to her?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I would say in terms of, Waev and what we're doing is we've developed a new way for businesses to be able to handle consumer data in a way that's more secure, in a way that gives the consumer in the long run a seat at the table as well. So, we want to see a world where gone are the days of another 100 million records, right, got hacked and companies sending out data breach notifications and being able to do things that provide additional value to data instead of just having everything locked up in a data silo.
As an Arab American, I get every week I get some sort of sad Credit Karma or some IRS notification about yet another data breach from I don't know, Pixie Hollow or some game that I logged on to 15 years ago that has doxed my entire life. So what does that mean in real terms for the rest of the world?
Yeah, that's a great point. So I think this is one of the things I think about what's going on with Web3 data, right? That's a fundamental shift in what we're capable of doing. The reason why those things are always happening, right, is that in a Web2 world, when you look at data, there's generally there's some sort of central vulnerability points, right? So things like, in a database, if you can get the master key, you get everything in the database, right? And that's why things like social engineering happen, right? A lot of hacks nowadays are social engineering. What's interesting about what's going on with the capabilities of data security, encryption, and Web3 is the ability to actually individually encrypt every single record so that there's no central skeleton key to get into anything, right? I think there's a large awareness of the concept of, my keys, my wallet, right, in crypto and Web3. Well, we're applying the same concept, right, of my keys, my data. And we're doing it in a way that I think one of the challenges is data. Most data is produced, even though it's consumer data, most data is actually produced by businesses. Consumer giving the business their data, right? But then it's up to how does the business handle that? There's a lot of interesting capabilities that we're exploring right now around things like data transportability, right? So if you think about things like phone numbers in the US, when you got a phone number, if you went to Verizon to get a phone number, your phone number had to stay with Verizon, right? That's the way your data is right now. You give a company data, it needs to stay with that company, and that's it. There's a lot of things that can happen when you look at keys and permissioning and encryption and on-chain records of data, that if I were to give my data to, say, Bank of America, right, and create that record, they also could give me a keyed access to that so that at some point in the future, if I would like to transport my data to a different bank, I can say, okay, I no longer want Bank of America to have that data, and I can move that data to a new bank because it's my data, but they're still able to use it as the creator of that data.
So, I know that I want to ask you a little bit about your B2B background because as I hear that, I know that, Waev has a very particular viewpoint about, where we see the future of security when it comes to portability, right? So you have everything that we're talking about, and then you have this idea that the consumer trend is for this sort of single universal wallet, this portable, something that's transcending 2FA, and you're able to log into one of your apps and then bring that over into your wallet. What are the security concerns that we're looking at? Like, how have we sort of leveled up? And what are we looking to address? Like, how are we going to reconcile Web3 security breaches?
If you think about businesses and what's going on around how businesses think about data, right? And as well, the relationship between consumers and businesses and data, right? A lot of consumers have this perception that businesses want to do evil things with their data, right? That's really not true. You hear a lot of the bad stories about there, right? Like the FANG companies and about how they're monetizing and abusing data. Look, those are 4 giant companies, right? There's tons of other companies in the world that are trying to use that data for good. And the unfortunate thing is that things just go wrong with the technology, right, and security. So as I see what's going on in terms of the clients that we're speaking with, they're starting to have a more open view of customers need to trust us as a business to feel comfortable giving us their data, right? We're seeing that more and more where more companies are adopting, the Web2 world, right? Log in with Google, log in with Facebook, because you're not giving another business your data, right? The same thing is going to happen in Web3, where there's the ability to leverage that existing data and to look at things like data transportability and doing things where you also can have multiple people collaborating and sharing access to data in a way that's not continually replicating at places, which is the only way that it works in Web 2. So I think that's one of the other really interesting shifts that's happening. And the ability to have everything encrypted and more privacy in a way that things are privacy preserving, and data sovereignty is a huge thing as well, right? Not just from a consumer standpoint of having sovereignty of your data, but businesses having sovereignty of their data as they collaborate with other businesses. Because, as we look at what's happening with technology development, more and more businesses are working together collaboratively on things to be able to build the amazing technology that we're all using. And if you can bring data sovereignty to the table there, it increases security of everyone's data. It allows businesses to unlock the value of the data without giving away their special sauce and risking things like consumer PII, like name, email, phone number, and also gives consumers a seat at the table of being able to ensure that they're only using the data in a way that the consumer's given them consent to do so. That's really where things need to go. And that's what solves things in terms of businesses and consumers having more trust as they work together with data.
So what have you seen over the past few days that's really exciting you?
People are starting to understand that PII, right, your name, email, phone number, can be transported, or I guess not transported, but transformed into something different, right? Like you can tie that to a wallet address, you can tie that to a blockchain transaction address, right? And be able to have that represent you without actually showing that. I think where some of the most interesting innovations are starting to happen in this space is ZK, zero knowledge proofs, right? Which for those who aren't familiar with ZK, it's like the ability to prove that some information exists inside a data set without actually showing that data, right? Because if I wanted to prove that I had Mona's information, in the current world, all I could do is I could pull up a spreadsheet and say, okay, here's Mona's name, email, and phone number, right? With technology like ZK, there's ways to do it without actually revealing that, so I haven't exposed Mona to any additional security breaches, vulnerabilities, things like that. So those are some of the excited things. I'm excited to see where it goes. There's a lot of companies working on amazing things in that space, and really excited to see how ZK tech continues to develop.
Thank you so much, Phil, for joining me.
Our time is up for now, but the conversation is still going. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at SinoGlobalCap, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and leave us your feedback so we can loop it into upcoming episodes.